over the weekend, which I guess we'll talk about later too. A whole bunch of Drake and Kanye beef, but that
really
song
beef.
leaked. Who knows, right? Who knows?
Tofu.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, killer tofu.
Shout out to Doug. But Andre 3000 and Kanye West, a song that they did called "Life of the Party" leaked, and apparently leaked from Drake specifically.
Shot himself in the foot.
I did he though? I don't know.
I think this was.
No, he didn't. I'm just talking.
But I think listening to it. I mean, obviously we're all huge Andre fans here. I'm pretty sure. And Andre had probably the most focused verse potentially on the entire project if it made the project. It was a really...
He definitely understood the assignment.
He definitely
did.
took... that's the words for it. He understood the assignment. He took it and ran with it.
But it was an amazing verse. I thought it was great. I really wish Kanye would have focused a little bit more on his verse, but maybe that's why he didn't put it out, also because he cursed, right?
But that was a good verse from Kanye, though.
It was a good verse. I don't think... Here's the thing. I feel like Kanye's verse for that song was the entire Donda album. Like, his whole album was about that, really. So, I don't know. I feel like... Did you guys see that Andre came out and he made a statement?
Yeah.
So
I didn't
about
see that.
Very
What is
thoughtful and
so he was just
measured thing that he had to say.
Yeah, he essentially just said along the lines that he didn't necessarily know that there was no cursing, and because that, he didn't want to.
He understood why it didn't make the album.
Right.
But he also added that once he got the track and wrote to it, that the track or Kanye's track wasn't on there. He said it was a different track.
Yeah.
Than what he actually initially heard. So
what do you guys think about? I'll go to you, Terry, first. You being the resident Outcast. I mean, we all are, but Outcast and Andre and Kanye fan.
Even got on the Braves jersey. It's perfect.
yes, indeed.
What'd you think
Players
about
ball video.
What'd you think about that whole thing? And I guess even the situation behind, like, it sounds like really bad. Like, this is the one time we get an Andre verse and it's not even out.
Yeah, man, it's
like fumbling the bag.
Yeah, you did, honestly, because so you're going back and forth on when you're going to release your project, and you had an Andre 3000 track in your arsenal, and people are foaming at the bits for Andre 3000 verse, and Andre 3000 is probably the definition of quality control, because he's not letting anything out unless it's quality every single time. If he gets on your track, he's gonna breathe on it, he's gonna give it life. And he was so focused on making this track about Donda, Kanye's mom and his mom, and I felt that
Definitely
crazy, because I mean, I just lost my mom.
Yeah.
So me hearing that verse and how he's talking about, can you tell my mama I'm talking to her? Can she say something? Like, that's real.
Yeah.
I go through that myself. So not even that I'm able to relate to it on that point, and I'm an Outkast fan, and it's just a matter of you having a track like that, of that magnitude, and you left it off of your project. A project that you have this beef leading up, or so-called beef leading up with Drake, and if you're thinking about sales and what it's going to look like and what it's going to sound like, there's no way you leave that off your project. No way. Whether you're dropping it with no cuss words or not, because I mean, at the end of the day, either you're going to make Christian music, or you're going to make what do they call it when it's secular music. I mean, this is technically is a secular release. So although you notably cut cuss words and things out, you could have did the same thing and kind of edited Dre's verse a little bit, as for it not to lose its impact. But at the same time, you fumbled by not dropping that, man. There's no way that you release that and not include that on your project.
Yeah.
And you arguably had the best verse that you've had since Black Dark Twisted Fantasy.
I thought it was a good verse.
Yeah.
I even Kanye's, I thought it was good. I don't know if it necessarily 100% matched everything. Like, I feel like
match Andre's
I feel like
energy at all.
No, I didn't match his energy.
I feel like at the end of the verse, he even got a little even more distracted and focused on the stuff. But I feel like The one thing that I would say with that particularly is like, I wish Kanye's whole album had that same type of energy on it.
Yeah.
And it just didn't to me. But
well, that's the thing that's been happening with Kanye. He drops songs that you hear, like, for example, remember like No More Parties in LA. Remember that energy on that song? You was like, dang, I wish this whole album had that energy. Or even when he dropped
that was old Kanye.
No, it wasn't though.
But it was.
That song was a couple years old.
That song came out on Pablo, but that was already 2-3 years old when they put it on there.
But he still was kind of.
That's like My Dark Twisted Fantasy era.
Yeah.
But he had another one too. What was the other one? Friends or How Many of Us? How many? What is that song? I can't remember.
Yeah,
but that same energy, it's like he gives you the glimpse or glimmer that he's still tucked away in there, but it just doesn't process on a whole album, so to speak.
Yeah. What do you think, Jay?
You know, I was disappointed in Kanye for putting that verse with that energy about dissing this other dude. And how do you hear what Andre did, which was so heartfelt and was, you know, about his mom, and you could probably relate to that on a whole different level. And you said, yeah, let me use this as a diss track. Now, mind you, it never came out, so we weren't meant to hear it. So, you know, maybe Kanye wasn't in a place where he realized the energy was bad that he had on there. And so he was like, that's part of why it didn't come out. Plus, the cursing couldn't have been that big a deal because he edited all the locks as cursing.
Right.
I don't know, man. Like, it's just one of those things to where it's where Kanye loses his focus, and sometimes he's so much more into the theatrics and all the other attention getting that sometimes the music seems to come second. And this was an instance where if it was about the music first, he'd have figured out a way to get this on his album, because it would have, you know, between that and the Lauryn Hill flip, if we got an album full of that, I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be. Now, I understand that I'm not out there A&Ring anything on good music or anything that Kanye has to put out, but I'm just saying, like, one of the high points of Donda is a song that wasn't even on the album. And I think, you know, this is also where Kanye West is. It's like when you hear his energy on his verse, I don't want to get into anything, call anybody a hypocrite or anything, but you got to understand that is the conflict which is in all of us. Is like, okay, yes, I want to present this to the world, but this is still part of who I am. You know, he's still out here repping GD and and talking about, like, you know, some other dude he's got beef with and how it's gonna go down. You know, that's still, you know, you like, I know, you know, there are people who go to the strip club on Saturday and are the first ones at church on Sunday.
Sanctified.
You know, so I mean, and I can't judge.
But I'm the heathen.
I can't judge any of those people.
That's a whole lot of heathens.
Because you know what? Look, I feel like it would have been cool if Kanye would have let the curses go, because you know what? God is not done with everybody yet. And that would have
definitely ain't done with a lot of them features he got on his album.
Yeah, so you know, I think that would have made, honestly, to let the words go, and because honestly, the sentiment is there. Just because you hear a word that somehow the world has deemed as a curse word,
right?
But when you listen to the actual lyrics and the way they're put together,
the Bible,
like, honestly, some of this does more to speak to people's hearts and their actual condition.
Sometimes the message is more important than condemning it for a word.
Than you saying, oh, well, I don't like that particular word. Well, did you listen to the whole sentence? Because the whole sentence might have saved somebody's life.
Yeah, for sure. We think, Mike.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate only because he says something that made me. I don't understand how you could leave off an Andre 3000 verse. Like, knowing who he is, like everything that you talked about.
What you saving it for?
Because I think he is focused. Like, his focus isn't what, like, we think it should be. I think his focus for this album was about the money. It was about the beef. Was about whatever else. It wasn't about the music. It wasn't music first.
It wasn't about the beef because he doesn't talk about Drake at all on this album.
I mean, it's like, well, I mean, like that unspoken, like, I'm trying to outdo you kind of thing. And because for you to put the Locks, Pop Smoke, and 27 other tracks on your album and leave that one off, there has to be a purpose. Like, he didn't do that just because he was. I mean, I just figured you got to be like, you have to have some kind of like focus, something like there has to be some point you're trying to prove to leave the stuff off the album that he left off the album.
But he was alluding to it too, because before Drake leaked it, he was like somewhere featured playing it in the background. So it's almost like I'm teasing y'all with it.
You know what though? It would be really hard to edit Andre's verse though, especially that part where he's talking about him and somebody's daughter. And
yeah.
I don't know how you edit that and still get that sentiment across.
But
as somebody that does that,
yeah.
But when you heard like, and you know, I'm not trying to get super personal, but like I know for what you've been through in the last month or so, like that verse I know had to, like Andre's verse I know had to speak to you in a way.
Yeah.
Like I just think about the level of healing and therapy that that verse could have done for so many other people if it was actually on the album.
Yeah, because it fit the mood of the album, and having that verse on that album would have made that album sound totally different if it had just came out with it on there.
What other reason would he have edited everybody else's verses, but then didn't want to take the time to edit that one, even if it was hard to edit? Like you said, I
think it has to do. I don't remember who touched on it, but I think it has to do with what Kanye did on the song. I think it has to be like how he addressed it. Like once he started getting into all this other stuff and he started, you know, to me, I thought it was a great verse, but I feel like it's probably just not the right type of, or not even right. I don't think it was the type of energy he wanted to put out there. I think that's what it had to have been, because there's no reason to leave on. You can leave Kanye off completely. You can just.
That's what I'm saying. You could have did the same thing you did for Pop Smoke and just put the Andre. Yeah,
he could have rewritten that verse and re-recorded it at any point in time. You know what I mean? Like, so I just think that there has to be a reason why he left it off, and be cursing, I don't think that's not a good enough reason for me to, like, I don't know. I just feel like he's on some other stuff.
Definitely.
I don't know.
But somebody definitely quarterbacked it to Drake and his people.
Yeah, I was curious about that too. Like, how did Drake get it?
So, and that's the other thing.
There's some fools in somebody's camp who is just he forgot to pay somebody.
Yeah.
There were a lot of
mole
people,
somebody somewhere
whose verses got left off of Kanye's album.
Apparently Chris
and that's
Brown.
the only one that got leaked.
I've never in my life seen so many people butthurt about not getting on an album. Like, you know, every album.
Shout out to Soulja Boy.
every album has people that don't make the
don't
cut.
make it.
I mean, that happens. It always happens. You always hear of a song that came out of nowhere. You be like, dang, I never knew about this song.
Yeah.
Because the artist ain't tripping. You got paid for it, right?
Probably.
So why are you tripping on it not being on the project?
Because they know the value of Kanye. Like,
man,
people are gonna listen to his stuff.
You don't hear anybody like, dang, Drake, you left me off? What's going on, man? What's up with that?
Drake put everybody on his album, though.
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed this segment of the New Old Heads podcast, make sure you join our live show every Tuesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/newoldheads. You can also catch playback of all of our shows on any podcast app and youtube.com/newoldheads network. And go to newoldheads.com/community to join our Discord.